I modeled the Peterson Cottage designed by Lloyd Wright a while back, and I was taken by all the furniture inside, and so I modeled the furniture as well. And then I thought I'd make a video basically along the idea that if I were to build it, this is how I do it. I'm going to start with this coffee table and then move to the coat rack, which are both very unique to this cottage. Stay tuned. As I said, I started with just a model of the actual cottage. Plans were available online, and I was able to do takeoffs and model the exterior and the interior of the building. And again, because the furniture was most of it, almost all of it, made out of plywood, very Lloyd Wright-ish, I thought I would try to model it, and then I thought I'd go a step farther and say, well, if I were to build this, how would I go about that? And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with this coffee table, which is sort of a unique design. It's all plywood. Two pieces in the middle are 17.5 by 41, and I've got a half lap joint down the middle, again 17.5 tall, 41 wide. And I'd let those two things slide into each other to form the center X shape of the table. You can see how these would go together. These would become sort of the backbone of the table. Then everything else is either a cleat or a slab of plywood, and then surrounded by, at least in my model, 2-inch by 3/4 inch solid wood trim. So if you do this right, you'd only see the plies on the two edges of the X in the center. You can see I've cut notches in those pieces of trim because that plywood subframe, or X in the middle, is supposed to stick out, at least according to the Lloyd Wright design. So you can see how those trim pieces would be notched. And then when I pull this stuff away, you can see that it leaves cleats on the inside edges of that X in the middle. And those cleats would allow you to have something to screw the top down to and to screw these intermediate shelves down to. Again, the 2 by 3/4 inch trim would hide the plywood edges. The top of that table is 38.5 inches square, and those bottom 4 quarter center shelves are 18 5/8 square. If I turn this over, you can get an idea of what the cleats would look like. Again, they would just be 3/4 by 3/4. They could be anything, honestly, because the 2-inch outer trim would hide them from view, unless you are laying on the floor looking up at this thing. So you can see if you pull those pieces away, it leaves just that center X and some kind of a cleat to fasten those tabletops to. And that's basically the idea. Just did this for fun. Thought it'd be kind of cool. It would be a super easy project to make out of plywood if you wanted to do a low-cost, pretty cool-looking coffee table. This could be done. I did see if I could fit all these pieces in one 4x8, and they know they don't fit. So you'd need at least 2 4x8 pieces of plywood to build the whole table. So that's the coffee table, and I got a view here, I think, of the table in the house to give you an idea of what it looked like in real life. There it is. You could build it really any size square and any size high that you wanted to fit your situation. Something else I did while thinking about coffee tables, I went online to look at if there were any others shown that were of similar design, and I found the one that just showed up on the picture, and I thought, you know, in some ways I like it better in that it's sort of see-through on the bottom shelf. The bottom shelf is just a single ply, not with a 2-inch edge on it, and I assume it would go together as I've pictured here, with half-lap joints in the upright pieces and then 4 half-lap joints in the bottom slab. And again, that's how that would look on the bottom side. Built very similar to the other table, only in some ways much more streamlined. Just for anyhow, I've added this to the video. You can see it would just be a half lap. I think you'd get plenty of rigidity out of the bottom slab of plywood. It probably would not need any cleats. So that's that. Now on to the coat rack. Then the other thing that took my interest in this house was this coat rack. You can see here's an angled picture of it here, another angled picture of it here. Here's a close-up of the base. Again, it's all plywood. And here's a close-up of the top. Again, plywood with cutouts, something also that Lloyd Wright did a lot of. The way I designed this is just a 3-inch center column made out of ripped plywood, and then mortised rectangular slots for these legs and the upper coat hanger portions to slot into. I think this would allow you to have a lot of strength and no fasteners visible. You could just glue these in to a good 3/4 inch deep mortises, and I think you'd have a very solid situation. I do a close-up here just to show that even the column could be made out of plywood if you just ripped with 45-degree rips. So that is the Lloyd Wright inspired coat rack from the Seth Peterson Cottage. All for fun. Just the idea that if I were to build it, this is how I would do it. Got a quick shot of the bottom here again to show that idea of even the post made out of plywood, and you can see the tenons of those legs poking through the mortises. All for fun. Just thought it was kind of cool to see this furniture in 3D and to see what it would be like if it was to be made. We hope you've enjoyed the video. If so, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.